Bloodgate scandal, Sam, was a stark example of how compromised ethics in sports medicine can happen. And it was one of the most alarming aspects of reading the book and reading your research and following you over the years, in what you uncovered about the role of medical staff in sort of condoning isn't really the right word, perpetuating the concussion crisis, perhaps. From what you've seen, how have medical professionals facilitated the issue, despite their oaths to do no harm, as you said there about people dying on the pitch? And I know it's not directly linked, but it's definitely something that's complicated the issue.
I was always fascinated by that relationship between the doctors in sport, the medical people in sport, and the players, and then their employers. That was always, I saw that tension, and obviously, again, Paul Kimmage's name comes up a lot in this interview for good reason. But I read a lot of his work. I read a lot of other people's work around this issue in cycling, but also I was fascinated with the idea of cheating and how people were prepared to sacrifice their morals basically to win, win at all costs, that idea. And I think what I saw when I started to look at it closely in rugby, I had my suspicions, let's say, my doubts. I was hearing anecdotal stories from mates of mine who played professionally, which didn't sit very comfortably with me. I was seeing evidence like, use for example, the kind of poster boy for the wrong words case, but in 2007 now, Lewis Moody played on twice after being knocked unconscious playing for England against Tonga. I was then hearing senior medical people within the sport, in my mind, showing an extraordinary lack of rigour and a lack of will to investigate potential problems which didn't sit comfortably with the narrative. And then, the Bloodgate case, which you highlight, was absolutely a defining moment for me in terms of me thinking this could happen. Could doctors make not just poor decisions, maybe through lack of education or lack of knowledge, but commit acts essentially which were absolutely going against their oath of do no harm. So in this case, it was a doctor cutting a player's mouth in order to create blood in their mouth using a scalpel because they've been cheating the system. Essentially, the player had taken bitten into a blood capsule to try and, because at the direction of the coaches, Dean Richards at Harlequins was ultimately blamed and found guilty of enabling a culture that basically put people at odds with their moral responsibilities, basically. And it was interesting for me because it was talking about a bigger thing, which was bullying in the workplace and where poor culture can create environments where good people, genuinely good, well-intentioned people can basically behave in the most appalling way. And it may sound strange, but I felt very sorry for the doctor involved in that Bloodgate case. I could understand and imagine, having dealt with some of the characters, senior management at that club at the time, just what a difficult position she was put in. And I had some sympathy for her and the player involved, although they, in many ways they were the two that committed the act of cheating and medical malpractice. I could understand under the certain circumstances why those kind of scenarios played out, and that was always fascinating for me, and I guess has informed a lot of my work, which is trying to kind of humanize the athlete in a way and create circumstances where doctors can go about their work without being bullied and pressured by coaches.